Well, hi, friends. My name is Brian Cosby, and this is Provide and Protect. And I'm here with my brother-in-law, Judd, and friend Danny, and both in military, or just recently retired and veteran here. And we want to talk about really home protection. So some things that we can do to protect our families and our homes. And now there's the kind of protection we're talking about is not like a natural disaster. We're talking about just like home invasion or that kind of thing that we can do to protect our families and our homes. And I don't know, what initial thoughts?
Why don't you go ahead, Danny?
Yeah, I think when I think about home invasion, it kind of goes into like two different categories. Is it a lone invader, or is there like multiple invaders coming into my house? And so for me, for the lone invader, I put it in like a weird Home Alone category, and not like I'm home alone, but like Macaulay Culkin. And so like I think personally, you need to have some setup and preparation and channeling that inner Macaulay Culkin in order to prep for that. And so I really think that takes precedence over like firearms and other things. Is like, you know, what kind of early warning network do you have? Do you have motion sensor lights on the outside of your house? Do you have cameras to help, you know, ward off intruders?
Great Pyrenees.
Great Pyrenees.
Yeah.
Do you have giant dogs?
You have big dogs patrolling all night.
Burglars hate dogs.
That helps.
Yeah, they hate. Yeah. And they're also an early warning network, and they can be another line of defense. So, I mean, I think that there's a lot of, I wouldn't say like booby traps or paint cans.
Yeah. But even a sign that says, we're gun owners in this house. Don't even try it, right? Yeah, that's another deterrent.
I think that's a deterrent, and it's a prevention method. And
all right, so on that prevention method, like just things, you know, are just set up. You know, sometimes we'll talk about even having a gate, fence, that kind of thing. Yeah, having the dogs, security system, alarm, something. Mm-hmm. So those are all things that we can do before something actually happens, like ahead of time, that would be preventative in some measure at least.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And then I think, you know, you kind of almost have to run the next step. All right, well, if somebody breaches my outer perimeter and then now they're into my inner perimeter, then it's kind of a different game. You know, then we're thinking more, at least I'm thinking, how do I protect and secure my family members first? Because the most precious thing in my house to me is my children. And then on down the line all the way to my dog, who's also
I was about to say your wife, but
you know.
She can take care of herself.
She's pretty feisty.
She's strapped in the bathroom with the 12 gauge.
She's pretty feisty. She might be the first one out the door.
I wouldn't break into your house.
Yeah. No, but I think, you know, now you're on a different, there's a shift, you know, if you realize that there's somebody in the house, the dog is barking, your wife's nudging you to wake up, you know, there's a different line. And for me, it's securing your valuables, and that's human capital, in my book. And then, you know, the next step past that, you know, call 911. You know, once you've secured your valuables, you know, hold a hallway. Do you need to rush down to save your, you know, kitchen plates?
Yeah.
You know, or can you just claim that as a loss and safely?
So on the securing valuables, maybe a couple tips here for if someone is in your home and you're thinking, okay, have I thought ahead to where my children should go? Should they just start running out of the rooms and running around, or should they stay in the rooms? Is there a safe place? That can go. I mean, maybe some of those things should be thinking about ahead of time, so that in the moment they're not like, "What do we do?"
Right. You want a good base plan in your Macaulay Culkin. You're running around the house. You got a good plan ahead of time. And I think, yes, 100%. Your kids should know. They should have a plan. It should be a practice plan of where to go in the house. And I would want them all consolidated so I can provide security for them. So security, accountability, those types of things.
And that comes down to the layout of your house, too. If your whole family's upstairs, you have an advantage because you're all on the same floor and somebody's going to break in. They're not going to, most likely scenario, not going to get on a ladder and go in through the back window of the second floor. They're probably going to come in through the front door or a window.
Right.
But my scenario is different. My kids are on the other side of the house. I have a single floor. So instead of my kids trying to run to my room, because they'd be running across where the person broke into the house is, I would have them hard point in their closets, close the doors, and I would secure the house. I'm not going to come out shooting because bullets travel through walls, that kind of thing. I would have to think about my plan for that.
Say this again, because people, I don't think, you know, we talk about cover and concealment all the time. And functionally, in a lot of places, it is similar. And when you are dealing with a real threat, let's say in a gas station, we see this on video oftentimes in a gas station, where, you know, someone is concealed behind an aisle of potato chips. It's as if in the moment, most burglars aren't going to be thinking, okay, I'm tracking him through the potato chips. It's functional as cover also. It's not, but it oftentimes works that way. However, it's important what you just said, that bullets go through walls. I mean, easy. Drywall, most houses, So you've got to be very aware and mindful of that. And that's, we talked about the 4 rules of firearm safety. And that 4th one, knowing your target, but knowing what's
behind it.
Yeah. What's beyond your target, to the sides. And in this case, if you're shooting in a home, and you got to be mindful, not just like immediately behind, the person, the bad guy, but also in the room beyond him. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's my scenario. If I come out of my bedroom aiming at the front door and they come into the house, right behind them is my daughter's room. So I can't even engage, even if they're armed. I have to change my position so I know the backdrop is clear, that kind of thing. So
right.
It's all stuff to consider. It's all case by case basis, specific to the house, specific to the family size.
Yeah, and it's important, I think, to get to know your layout and your specificity when it comes to planning, because you're right. Not all layouts for houses are going to be the same, and each one's going to be unique and different. And that's why you got to work through, I think, your specifics of your.
Sit down with your family, come up with a plan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not to scare them, but just, hey, this kind of happens sometimes.
Yeah.
We need to know what we're going to do.
So one other thing I want to ask you guys about is the psychology of a protector in that role. I mean, we're guys, and I believe biblically and other reasons, just logically, that it's upon us to step up in that kind of environment when your family is under attack, your wife, your children, your property, it's your castle. And, today it seems like a lot of guys are like, you know what, let's just kind of be quiet and nudge the wife, you go. No, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like this is an area of just psychology, just a mental preparedness to deal with something like this, protecting your family. That there's got to be some kind of, all right, if this scenario plays out and we have assailants coming in or whatever, that like there should be a muscle memory of the mind almost to like, I'm getting up and I'm going. I'm going into it.
Yep.
Now, obviously understanding you're not going to be dumb about it and just go get yourself killed, because if you get killed, well,
Exactly.
So, except for your wife, you said, could take down the bad guys. So that's great. But we don't want that to happen. And
right.
So what are some things that, I mean, just in the mental preparedness, to deal with something like that? Or it doesn't have to be in your home. That's what we're talking about today. But I think the same kind of mental preparedness, can happen in preparing for a mall or some other gas station or somewhere else as well. What are some of the mental things you've had to think through in preparing your mind? Like, if this something happens, then I'm in.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'll start this. I think it's important that men, in particular, the type of men that Brian's talking to on his channel, they get used to doing things that are intimidating, that scare them. Learning how to use a firearm. If you're afraid of planes, go skydiving. You need to find that mechanism of fear, because we're still afraid when we have to go out and clear the house. I know you guys have probably had your wives say, hey, I heard something. Can you go check on the door? I think and that's a scenario that could be it. So do you just get up and not take it seriously, or do you take it deadly serious? And you go check your house, check on your kids, make sure everything's secure. But that fear mechanism, and I'm working on this with my son right now, that fear mechanism, even if you stutter for a second and you hesitate, that's enough to lose a life. So you need to have confidence in your own ability to get up and engage whatever threat may or may not be there. And again, you can't be so afraid that you're going to squeeze the trigger immediately. Most of the time, I don't even grab a gun, and my plan is I'm just going to go at it and I'm going to figure it out. And I'm not going to escalate the force if it's not necessary, but I'm going to try to get control of the situation. But first, you have to control your own fear. Yeah,
someone said that you always need to move toward your fear. So if you're afraid of something, just move toward it to overcome some of that fear. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to pre-decide. I would want to step in this scenario pre-deciding how I'm going to act.
Okay.
Like even to the point, yesterday we were talking about this a little bit, like if my dog is attacking somebody, am I going down there to save my dog if I have security and accountability in my family?
Huh.
Yes. For me, my dog is that important. I'm going to go down. We're going to scrap it up together. Am I going to take my pistol straight into the fray? Am I going to indiscriminately flag around my house, or am I going to be like very precise with, if I see a stranger in my house, am I going to shoot him right off the get, or am I going to check for weapons? Yeah. It's important at least to cage your mind to these contingency possibilities.
Yeah.
What am I going to do with this? What am I going to do this? And to almost make that moral decision ahead of time, so that once you get into the moment, we know this, you're going to fall to a level of training and how you've trained and prepared your mind. So I absolutely think it's important to pre-decide that you're going to go, number one.
Yeah.
And then it's important to pre-decide to say, okay, now that I've gone, once I hit that worst case scenario, how am I going to react?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it helps temper some of your excitement too.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be overexcited.
Yeah. So here's a very practical question here. So people are thinking, all right, I'm convinced. I need to prepare, have some outer perimeter kind of preparations and defenses or whatever, and then also to prepare my mind and pre-decide to go. Do I take a little 22? Do I take a shotgun? Do I take a rifle? Do I take a hand? Like, what should I go to first? Like, what kind of knee jerk? I'm going to open up something. This is the Stopbox USA, by the way. Am I going to open up something like this, grab a firearm that's by my bedside, or am I going to have to go to a closet somewhere, in the dark, try to turn the knob and find the combination and get something out? Like, the practical element, you've decided to go. There's a home invader, whatever. You've decided to go. What do I get? What do I take with me in that moment?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of right answers. And I think we mentioned this a little bit earlier, but, if you can argue about it, it probably doesn't matter that much. Yeah. Danny Wright's personal opinion. But I personally think a pistol is a great option because it's a great, close quarter type weapon. I also like personally having a light because a light can really diffuse your enemy.
So
and also helps with
this right here, this is not loaded here, but obviously you have a light on here, and so something like that would be.
This is a great weapon. I would want a certain amount of bullets, at least, so a relatively higher capacity magazine. I'm not trying to do a concealed carry because I'm inside my house.
Yeah.
But I definitely want light as a deterrent. And in order to not only identify the person that I might be shooting, right, but also to throw off their night vision.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it can be another great tactical advantage as long as you're using it intelligently.
Yeah. And if you're within a house, another thing, we've heard of lasers. Lasers are cool, but a flashlight, if you have a flashlight that's focusable and on a smaller angle, you can actually use that in a close environment. You don't have to be fully extended. Yeah. Have the light lit, and wherever you're shining that light is where these projectiles are going to go. Yeah. So you can also use that as kind of your
guide for.
Yeah, you don't have to fully extend your arms and commit that because somebody could grab it if it's within a house or an indoor environment. So a flashlight will also help you get rounds on target if necessary.
Yeah. A lot of people, and the nice thing, you're talking about close quarter combat kind of scenario where and we was talking about when you're going in and out of hallways, if you have a full long deer hunting rifle or something,
300 Win Mag,
you're trying to like go around like this. If you're proficient, and I think that's what you said, a lot of right answers, because you could be proficient with, an AR platform, carbine or something. And certainly, that would be a decent option. Talk about, more bullets available to you, and something like that. But I think that's a lot of right answers depending on your proficiency, being comfortable with that in that moment.
And being quick.
Yeah.
You're a lot quicker when you have a smaller weapon.
Yeah. And not that 9mm or something can't overpenetrate, but, to our earlier discussion, I mean, 5.56 round, 223, that's definitely going to penetrate a lot further than, a hollow point 9mm, where they're designed to not penetrate quite as much, So,
and if penetration's a big issue for you, there's plenty of, you can get a short shotgun with a stubby grip. Birdshot doesn't really penetrate. Yeah. So you can use birdshot and have somewhat confidence that it's not going to go through every wall in your house. Right. So if you're concerned about over-penetration, a short, stubby shotgun, that's another good solution to that.
Yeah. So last thing I want to just talk about here is I want to go back to where to house that firearm. And you've got that scenario in that moment where I'm like, you know what, there is an intruder and I need to get in there pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying, like this Stopbox, here, and this is the small one. This is for like a subcompact. They make larger ones, and I've done a video on those as well. But something like this is so nice. You can lock this up to a bedside, and you can put in different combinations. You press down, you push these whatever combination you have, it opens up, and then you can grab and go. But I know a lot of people want to have it in a safe or something, like have a gun in a safe. The advantage of that, of course, that it's locked up. Right. No problem. The disadvantage is it's locked up, and trying to get to it, maybe kind of difficult in a very fast response, something like that. Are there other options though? I mean, you can think of besides this and putting it in like a vault somewhere in your house?
Yeah, other than like keeping it in a desk drawer, which is not a great option.
If you have kids, you and me have young kids, you've got young kids. We don't want them. They could have all the training in the world, but kids are kids. They're going to want to play with stuff. And boys especially, they like playing with dangerous things, which is why that safety is always first. Even if somebody's breaking in your house, safety is your first priority for your family and yourself.
So
there's RFID readers too. They get the little RFID safe. There's other options, but I personally, something like this box is very good because it works off of a KISS principle. It's keep it simple, stupid.
So there's no batteries that's going to fail. There's nothing. There's if you get cut or hurt and you're bleeding and you're doing one of those biometric kind of readers, and who knows if it's going to read in the moment. And I have one, and I've done a video on one with a biometric reading, but something like this is just mechanical. There's nothing to fail as far as like batteries or, it's not reading my print right. Is it this finger? So I think something like this, guys, if you want to check them out, I'll drop a link down below. But Stopbox USA, obviously it's all made in the good old USA as well. So
and you can fully access that in the dark. You don't need to be able to see it.
I can feel this right here.
You don't need any light to see it. It's quick.
That's right. And a lot of those biometric ones, they make loud beeping when they open and stuff too. So anyway, thanks for joining me today. And if you have other tips and when you're kind of hearing us and watching us talk about this, if you have other thoughts and tips on home protection and maybe things you've thought about that we haven't mentioned here today, then drop those down below. But thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next video.